pounds of vinyl chloride burned into the air and in the water with your fluoride. Today we'll demonstrate the role that profit plays in cost-benefit analysis to find the worth of your lives. Mind you, we'll be grading on a curve that traces dead fish on the shoreline. Today the town of East Palestine will know the skies of wartime, wear the shoes of Palestine, and know the smell of war crimes. Their pets and livestock will be corpses for the war shrine. This is how you sanction all your farmland in the Fourth Reich. I'm honestly surprised that Pete addressed it in a fortnight. Praised the first responders, but ignored the looming morgue line. Like focus on the cavalry, ignore that every horse died. Never mind there's not a single cricket, bird, or horsefly, just triclops in the triage tent who expedite the four-eyed. Norfolk taking pages out the Northwoods, north side. Add a dash of NORAD, plant a row of soil mines, give them lots of black skies and water bright with oil shine, and you can propagate the kind of crop that Gates will normalize. Save your time, give up ever going back to normal life. Norfolk cut its cost, and now this nation pays the morbid price. Norfolk weighed the loss as purely human, so they rolled the dice, knowing Biden had their backs when workers tried to unionize. Knowing all their lobbyists assured they won't be scrutinized, and knowing that the tiny little fine they might be hit with is a part of doing business when your business is to euthanize. To salt the earth, liquidate the brutalized, drench the plains in acid rain, and blame it all on rural minds. Tell them that's just what they get for voting red, and old Team Blue will fall in step and shake their heads and disconnect from humankind. They're never looking up, their fingers point to you and I. Thanks to years of being trained to frame the little guy, they've seen the film enough to tell you where the blame should lie. The poorest family's EBT card was the mastermind. Those little houses won't concern the liberal passerby. They had their dose of NPR. The passive voice will cast aside your raspy breath and swollen eyes, your burning cough that won't subside, your cat that didn't last the night, that pall of death, that blackened sky, the harvest faced in 10 years' time that reaps the waste of wealthy crimes, a 1,000,000-gallon deep decline through super sites and party lines, through hurried graves and leaded pipes, past poisoned slaves and slaughtered tribes, past forgotten treaties that we authored, then we compromised, past our moral fabric, ever brittle, gray, and fossilized, and past the mass of plastic trash that's just this side of ossified. And if you find one root that thrives, a living proof of fruitful vines, just hold it close, take in the sight. Don't plant some host for parasites who in the name of corporate gains see all those murders justified. We're such a waste of insect paste and so much cheaper crucified. We're children of the fuselage, ghosts of all the food deprived, echoes of a working class whose crystal knocked was supersized. Out in Ohio, birds are drowning where they stand. Their eyes reflect a world event that devastates the land. And it's a tale of regulations disemboweled by profit's hand, and their viscera that soaks like so much chloride in the sand. Perfect time for you to burn the bridge to self-forgiveness. Now's the chance, take a stand, stay your hand before you cast another vote for corporate interest. Another vote that chokes your hopes of owning your own home or opening a business. They love to say their hands were tied, the stars just weren't aligned for them to get their votes in line to see their promises delivered. But they killed it in an instant. Bills don't die by accident, they're all assassinated on behalf of the congressionally kismet. By some lobbyists who see themselves as agents of clandestine fate, not fences in a prison. Do dealing in the stolen goods of sleeping slaves and trading on the futures of their children. Betting on a spread of daily dead where every grave's creating profit by the millions. For some fascists lurking in the wings and all of their affiliates. And every Etna demigod our senators conduct their darkest dealings with. It really gets impossible to document or fingerprint. Cause it isn't just a pattern of corruption, it's the very fabric making up the structure of the system that we're living in. So dash your hopes and down a margarita goes. You box the shadows, take a little nap, and then you get back in and swing again. But if the margarita made you sick, you probably wouldn't take a drink again. So if you're voting either party, honey, think again. I recommend you steel your nerves and never serve an officer, a president, a despot, or a king again. And mark my words, the day will come where we will rise and sing again. And if voting makes you sick, well, no one's forcing you to drink again. I didn't have to wait for long. I never had to change a song. I just sing it like a raised alarm. Smile when you say I'm wrong. I can't even fake disarm. Can't fake while you play the charms. And I don't know the page we're on, but this is where you say you're wrong. This is where you finally admit you weren't ignorant. You boldly voted Joe like an informed and blissful idiot. You chose to blur the parts of Biden you don't find the prettiest. Now you choose uplifting news and filter out the grittiest. But the truth is something coarse enough that even when it's hidden, it's apparent when you feel it on your fingertips. I know it's hard to deal with from a distance, and up close the truth is hideous. But there's just no getting rid of it. You've gotta let it enter. It just worries at your skin in every moment, loud or intimate. But shake it off, for fuck's sakes. You don't have to celebrate or be so proud of progress by imaginary increments. You don't have to heap such constant praise on fucking villains, like they're stillborn promises or honestly just isolated incidents, and not the product of the principle of privilege. Not intentional eugenics just by any other synonym, covered up with desperate clusterfucks of rosy images, labeled plain by any other name except for what the fucking image is. So once you stare the page down enough, you'll spot the difference. That one is red and one is blue, and that's the only truth, because neither one delivers on that promise of deliverance. One is red and one is blue, and that's the only difference. And the rest are isolated and imaginary incidents. One is red, one is blue, and that's the only difference. I didn't have to wait for long. I never had to change a song. I just sing it like a raised alarm. Smile when you say I'm wrong. I can't even fake the song. Can't fake while you play the charms. And I don't know the page we're on, but this is where you say you're wrong. No intro, folks. I'm ripping in, opening my notes app like a vat of acid. Let's begin. Point me to the journalists I'm dipping in. Wait a minute. Holy shit. Something must be wrong. It's just a couple kids. There's not a single wrinkle on their privileged skin. A couple whiskers you can just make out through all the clout that's dribbling off their little chins. The vanguard charge of a red rose strike force, mouths wide open as they charge into the hype wars. Now usually I'd be obliged to take my time and savor every moment of the movie of me stretching out this two-piece till I eat it like a 5-course. Usually I'd lift them up, then drop them 25 floors, strip their image back, expose the eyesore. But it's sad to see the DSA make cattle of the prepubescent. It's sad to witness Jimmy Dore derangement syndrome-addled brains of adolescence. So maybe I should cut some slack and throw them back, like once they're done maturing, they might get the message. Maybe once they're all growed up, they'll learn their lesson. Maybe they'll look back a couple years from now and cringe just like I did the day I found those old Obama pins behind my dresser. Your vanguard's just a couple drips, no ripples to be made. I guess if you carry water, you're an honorary blue wave, defending our democracy like anything survived for you to save. So, arbiters of good intentions, tell us who is truly leftist. Let them wield identity like such a holy weapon, and let no one through the gate who's unordained. While you're both busy streaming live with boot receptacles agape, a couple overzealous paladins decrying bad faith. We're here to show Kalinsky you can fit your whole fist, so his size 8 shoes ain't shit. Man, if that's what serves as vanguard, then your army's got a lot to lose, except for the respect of those who jump at shining Schumer's shoes. Those who treat the issues like some pleasant conversation that they're having on a dinner cruise. Well, never once in my whole life has punching up felt so much like it's child abuse. Like maybe I should save my scorn for those whose lobes are fully formed, who aren't just human moths that swarm the brightest clout to keep them warm. Maybe it's not worth the mess of mopping guppies off your floor. Strike a nerve, then CPS comes knocking at my chamber door. Cut 'em loose. I'll wait it out an album cycle, maybe 4. If they didn't learn by then, I'll proceed with no remorse. Once they're just your average centrists, drumming up support for wars, who ask you for receipts while they both cite a State Department source. The pipeline's pretty short from clueless faux progressive larva to that fragile centrist chrysalis where criticism's trauma, to spreading wide your liberal wings to shit on all the fauna as you host your weekly brunch and sit-down chit-chat with Ro Khanna. You'd both do well to listen close and look me in my eyes. My words will spare you only once. I don't show mercy twice. My lyrics aren't the kind of place where people leave alive, but I don't eat low-hanging fruit. I leave it for the flies.
We did it again. Oh my God. Hi, everybody.
Look at us. It just keeps coming.
Oh my gosh. Episode 27. And we're still here.
How?
And of course we got all the best fam in the house. We got Cynic and Charlie Mac, Angel and Team Orca.
Oh, we got Angel. This is an Angel in the evening.
OnlyFans. It is Angel After Dark. There you go. He let him steal Reese thing. And I see Funky Monkey. We got a monkey in the house. Nice. What's up, monkey? Monkey. Yeah. So this is American.
Charlie Mac. We got a show.
We sure do. I'm gonna go right to here because this is American tradition. In case you didn't know. This is the Jesse Jett show on INN exclusively. And tonight, Jesse has decided that he wants to honor one of his mentors, the late, great Utah Phillips. So I'm going to learn because I know nothing really about this guy.
Nice. Okay.
And so I've kind of like let it not intentionally not really replayed a thing or two. I was half tuned out today, but I really kind of want to like hear it and really experience it for the first time, through Jesse.
Did one song of his early on. This was probably only 6 episodes or so into this show that I did a song of his one night. And I just started listening to him and I was like, I got to play one of this guy's fucking songs. And I remember finishing the song and being like, well, those weren't the right chords. So I'm going to play that one again tonight so we can actually come in and like victory lap, retribution it. But yeah, it's interesting when I look at doing a night of Utah Phillips stuff. A good bit of the songs that he did that mean a lot to me are not just covers, but they're traditional labor songs. There are a lot of songs from the labor movement in the 30s, 40s, and 50s that I had heard a few of them before, kind of in passing, but the Utah Phillips versions were what grabbed me because his albums. Traditionally, it's kind of a track before each song talking about the song. So when you get to the piece, even if it's something short and simple, and it's kind of a labor chant or something, you kind of know the background of it. You know which miners had just gotten gunned down by the militia when it was written. You know, there's a lot of weight behind that. And especially now, you know, I only just found Utah Phillips within the last year or so. And it is all thanks to Lyrical. There was an episode of the show where he featured some of my music. It's actually where I took the Brilliant Powerful Hammer clip from. And he talks about when he listened to my stuff for the first time, feeling this kind of instant connection with the artist that he also experienced with Utah Phillips. And when he said that, I was like, oh, I need to check out this Utah Phillips person. And as soon as I did, it was like exactly what I needed at this point in my life, with what I know, with the music I'm making, and with how our unions are being hollowed out from the inside, how our child labor laws are being rolled back. Utah Phillips's songs and messages and warnings are way, way more resonant right now even than I feel like they were at the time, because unfortunately shit didn't get better. In fact, one of my favorite quotes of his, he talks about the importance of those songs and how we got the protections that we got. The quote is, kids don't have a little brother working in the coal mine. They don't have a little sister coughing her lungs out in the looms of the big mill towns of the Northeast. Why? Because we organized. We broke the back of the sweatshops in this country. We have child labor laws. Those were not benevolent gifts from enlightened management. They were fought for, they were bled for, they were died for by working people, by people like us. Kids ought to know that. That's why I sing these songs. That's why I tell these stories, damn it. No root, no fruit. That's a really good encapsulation of the attitude Utah Phillips had, was like, it's fucking important that we don't forget these songs and the people that wrote them and the people that were written about, because it's the protections that we're losing. In fact, when I posted today about this episode, the guy from Lyrical shared it.
I saw that.
He included a really fantastic Utah Phillips quote. Freedom is something you assume, then you wait for someone to try to take it away. The degree to which you resist is the degree to which you are free. And that's fucking, there are so many lines in his songs or in just the chit chat between the songs that I've found myself just shouting fucking yes to no one in particular, just listening to it in the backyard or on my forklift. Like it is so resonant, and really, I just hung on every word, and really in the writing, especially of, and then the sky slammed shut. I was just starting to really absorb a ton of Utah Phillips, and I needed it. It was like exactly what I needed at the right time. And he really has. It's unfortunate that I just became aware of him, probably 5 years after he passed. But he's been more of a mentor to me musically than anybody else for this, for what I'm doing. It's been really oh gosh, formative, which is crazy to say, 34, that there's an artist that does that for me. But this is really, I've only just from kind of 30 on started focusing on this music and, this message. And it's, it's thank God for you guys, for INN fam and Twitter fam, because it's, as anyone else that does political music can tell you, or really any political focused stuff, shit gets lonely, thank God we have each other. So to have a musician that I could listen to that gets it, like Utah Phillips gets it, and talks to you about every little detail of everything in between songs, it's the greatest gift. And I owe Lyrical a great deal, because and they're in chat. Moving Train Media.
Yep. That's Lyrical. Awesome.
Yeah, that was such a tremendous
guys.
gift for me. To all of a sudden have that. Like Utah Phillips has absolutely gotten me through a couple times where I just like didn't know what to talk about next, what to focus on, where to, best put my efforts. And the people that he knew and other labor organizers and stuff that he talked to, just some really important shit I hang on when people press me about not voting. And I believe it's something someone else told him, but he said, I look at it that my body is my ballot, and I intend to cast it every day on behalf of the people around me. And then he says, what was it? I didn't assign responsibility to someone else. I recognize that something needs to get done, and I'll see to it that it gets done. So you couldn't use, you can't tell me that I didn't vote, because I am out basically doing more than what our elected officials will do for us. And it doesn't take much, just like Lee Camp with the rock that's taking people's medical debt away. Like
Yard Rock 2024. Yeah, baby.
Solid solutions, someone like Rome going out and actually making a difference in people's lives, something that our elected officials, for all the money and time we give them, can't seem to fucking do for us. And there aren't a whole lot of things anymore that I get like genuinely inspired and like hopeful about, and Utah Phillips's music has really helped me find that, and also made me realize that, like, man, a union used to be something that you like could really be proud of and like put your blood and sweat into, and again, I mean, people did, they died for the protections they got, and those are just getting peeled back, and people are just kind of like, oh, well, look at that. That's nuts that, they're letting kids work in mills now. Wow. It's just we're so passive about it. And
the governor of Arkansas, the fucking governor of Arkansas, standing there with a whole bunch of kids looking, what was it? I mean, that literally looks like a scene out of the Hunger Games. It's amazing. And it's like, here's the 12-year-old kids that are going to work combines in the field. And that's great for the families that need the income, but ooh, it's probably not so great for the kids.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to use the line, it's a bold and powerful hammer to smash that facade. But I can't do it nearly as smoothly as our boy over here.
I still, that episode when he said that, he's, kind of talking about my music, and then he starts talking about the movement at large. And then he came back to me, and I realized, like, oh, he's tying this all in. And it really felt like some sort of career retrospective that I shouldn't be deserving of until I've put in a lot more years into doing this. And it was the most surreal, humbling. You can ask my wife, like, I cried like a baby the first time I listened to that. And I was like, you gotta hear what he said about my music. Listen to this. Like, it wrecked me. But it was, when you get a whole bunch of people, like back then, if I said something about AOC, people were still coming, how dare you talk about the squad, And so for someone to like get it, hear my shit and get it like that, and then talk about someone like Utah Phillips in the same breath, with every single day that I learn more and love more about Utah Phillips, that means more and more to me. So huge hats off to Lyrical for everything.
Cool, man.
Yeah. So I guess that's about a as good introduction as we'll kick off. I'll start with a song. I'll start with the one that I did once before that I want to take another crack at. I have a couple of his original songs, a couple of his labor songs, and a couple poems. One he wrote, and possibly a couple others that he had just included on an album of kind of anti-war material. And a couple of his labor songs I actually sing to Fox at night. Have turned into lullabies for him. Because Utah Phillips said too that like kids now, when you ask a kid who their hero is, they usually will mention someone fictional, and he talks about how many really great heroes there were to have in the labor movement, be real people that made real sacrifices for stuff. People like Joe Hill, who we'll get into. But a quick background: Utah Phillips had served in the Korean War and did what soldiers are made to do. And when he got out of the war, spent a good amount of time trying to kind of reconcile that and make peace with it, and hating himself for it. And traveled the country by train, eventually became like something of a legend in the hobo community and traveled with, kind of bums in the back of boxcars and found the kind of houses of hospitality that would take in travelers, and spent some time at some of them working there, helping out. Just became, vagabond. And the songs that he wrote along the way are incredible. So this is the first song that really jumped out at me, by Utah Phillips, because from the get-go, it just really grabs you. There's no messing around with the first line of like what the message is here. But he talked about playing a folk festival, and he would always walk past this kind of transient hotel, and there was this very old man that was up in the window of one of those places who would look out at him every day, and he would always try to wave and smile, and it took a long time before he finally got even a wave back. And he wanted to meet the guy, and the clerk at the place said, like, he's living on a pension, he doesn't have much, he doesn't trust people, he won't talk to anyone. And he wrote this song kind of wondering, I think what Utah Phillips said was, I don't know if this is his story, but it damn sure isn't going to be mine, and I hope it won't be yours. This is called All Used Up. I spent my whole life making somebody rich. I busted my ass for that son of a bitch, and he left me to die like a dog in a ditch. He told me I'm all used up. He used up my labor, he used up my time, plundered my body and squandered my mind, and gave me a pension, a handouts and wine. Told me I'm all used up. My kids are in hock to a god you call work, slaving their lives out for some other jerk. And my youngest in Frisco just made shipping clerk. He don't know I'm all used up. See young people reaching for power and gold, don't have respect for anything old. For pennies they're bought and for promises sold. Someday they'll all be used up. They use up the oil and they use up the seas. They use up the air and they use up the trees. Well, how about you, friend, and how about me? What's left when we're all used up? I'll finish my life in this crummy hotel. It's lousy with bugs and my God, what a smell. But my plumbing still works and I'm clear as a bell. Don't tell me I'm all used up. Outside my window the world passes by, gives me a handout and spits in my eye. And no one can tell me, cause no one knows why. I'm living but I'm all used up. Sometimes in my dreams I sit by a tree. My life is a book of how things used to be. Kids gather round and they listen to me. They don't know I'm all used up. There's songs and there's laughter and things I can do, and all that I've learned I can give back to you. I'll give my last breath just to make it come true, to know I'm not all used up. They use up the oil and they use up the seas. They use up the air and they use up the trees. Well, how about you, friend, and how about me? What's left when we're all used up? Yeah, that first line, the first time I fired that song over her, I spent my whole life making somebody rich. I busted my ass for that son of a bitch, and he left me to die like a dog in a ditch and told me I'm all used up. Like, oh, man. Oh.
No doubt what that song's about. Yep.
And man, when I was practicing a couple of these today and thought about this song, I couldn't help but think of like the all the drivers for Yellow, for instance.
Ugh.
A bunch of whom I used to have regular trucks that came from that company at my job. And
Not anymore.
you know, to see, I think we all remember the video of the guy flipping out, finding out that their pensions weren't getting paid into, and they were like, "Oh, I wonder what's about to happen with Yellow." And obviously, they fold.
20
And
years.
it's so amazing in casual conversation with people at work how quick people are to go, well, yeah, the company just wasn't making money. If people, keep asking for more, they can't afford to pay all these drivers, so they're gonna shut down. Like, it's just like, oh, the poor company. People are asking so much of them, and they just can't afford to pensions. I mean, gosh, once they want pensions, like, it's just fucking it's amazing how hardwired those things are into people to jump to the company's defense.
I mean, what happened to like blaming the lack of sales? Like, guys, the trucks aren't moving because you guys didn't figure out how to sell your services to the right places for enough money that you could afford to operate. But you had like the 4th largest trucking operation, so some synapse wasn't firing somewhere, and you had your business stolen from you. But the problem is that we know where it got stolen from. It basically got stolen by Amazon. It got stolen by Amazon by doing this cut rate deals with drivers. All right. And I know our friend Jeff Black, who's also in chat. Shout out to Jeff Black, who talks a lot about the gig economy. That they're now the UPS contract is now going to allow for drivers to deliver packages in their own personal vehicles. And that's as a way to make more money. The Uberification now of package delivery service, which is terrible in so many ways. And
we're fucked.
Seriously.
There it is.
And it's
a great American tradition.
It is a great American tradition to fuck over the American workers, unfortunately, and not to take care of our people. Thank you, Tim Dillon. So that was beautiful. I seem to recall there was a Utah Phillips song, I think, that was played during the it was a comic book that was like 3 hours long, and it has Dr. Manhattan. It's a very famous movie that they turned into like, it's like a
God, the Watchmen.
The Watchmen, that's it. I think they used one of his songs in the movie The Watchmen, if I remember correctly.
Maybe they could be, because I wasn't familiar with his stuff at the time, so it very well could be. That movie, boy,
that's a great movie.
I've see that movie. I was, maybe I just wasn't in the right place for it, but I was not a fan.
I was a fan. I did not know like the story or the comic books or anything, and just seeing that cold, I was like, that's pretty decent. Like the dude, the Super Hawk dude, like that was a little weird, that whole angle, but most of it was pretty cool. I have to say. What's his name? Jeffrey, whatever his name is, who looks like Robert Downey Jr., but he isn't.
Oh yeah, yep.
He's in The Walking Dead.
Okay, so
go ahead.
This song, this is an old labor song that he did, and this is one of the ones I sing to Fox at night. This song is about Joe Hill. Joe Hill was, in addition to being a songwriter, a labor organizer who was, as far as most sources say, was framed for a murder. Obviously, there were an awful lot of people that wanted Joe Hill gone, and he was in prison in Utah, and before he was put to death, he wrote a little poem for his will and slipped it to a guard to give to a reporter, and he wrote, "My will is easy to decide, for there is nothing to divide. My kin don't need to fuss or moan. Moss does not cling to a rolling stone. My body, if I could choose, I would to ashes it reduce, and let some merry breezes blow, them to where some flowers grow. Perhaps some fading flower then might take bloom and live again. This is my last and final will. Good luck to all of you. Joe Hill. Which is just fucking fantastic.
Like poetic, literally poetic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. And he, there was a house, it was like a Catholic workers' house that he set up called the Joe Hill House. And people that were down on their luck, it was near a rail yard, would come in all the time. And Utah spent some time living and working there. And they would take care of people that came in. They would make them food. They would get their clothes changed. They would try to keep track of them if they went to a new town, try to help get them their medical records if they needed, like did an exhaustive amount of work for a lot of homeless people, transients, vets that were neglected, just a lot of people. And after Joe Hill died, Utah Phillips ended up working in a government office and could get his hands on the surveyor's plaques for where the prison used to be, and would walk out to the exact spot where Joe Hill had been shot. And that was just kind of his Zen spot, like his meditative place. And the kind of message in this song of someone's work and someone's words surviving them like this just really, really stuck with me. This is called Joe Hill.
I dreamed I saw Joe Hill last night, live as you and me. Says I, but Joe, you're 10 years dead. I never died, says he. I never died, says he. Oh, the copper bosses, they killed you, Joe. They shot you, Joe, says I. Takes more than guns to kill a man, says Joe, I did not die. Says Joe, I did not die. And standing there as big as life and smiling with his eyes, says he what they forgot to kill went on to organize, went on to organize. From San Diego on up to Maine, in every mine and mill, where workers strike and organize, says he'll find Joe Hill, says he'll find Joe Hill. Yeah, I dreamed I saw Joe Hill last night, live as you and me. Says I, but Joe, you're 10 years dead. I never died, says he. I never died, says he.
And that's Joe Hill.
First time I heard that line, says he what they forgot to kill went on to organize. I was like, fucking yeah, that is so metal. That is so goddamn good.
Don't boo, organize, right?
But every now and then, like I'll sing some of these songs to my son, and he'll be like half awake, and all of a sudden he'll hear a line that I'll have a question about. And there's the line, it takes more than guns to kill a man. And he goes, does it take more than guns to kill a man? I was like, no, it's usually enough. But like, there's a metaphor here. Guns are usually significant.
That'll do it most of the time.
In a greater sense, you know.
Shout out to Anthony Malecki out there in YouTube's land. By the way, we do have subscriptions available now on INN. I don't know if anyone heard. I think just about everyone here probably did that's on the channel, but we got a copyright strike for boats smashing in other boats on Friday. You can support our channel, patreon.com/Indie News Network. You can also sign up for a subscription here. You can donate over at Rockfin. You can super chat. You can even Cash App $Indie News Network. You can hook us up with a couple bucks. We could definitely appreciate it. And we have appealed the copyright strike. We have also reached out to the owners of Kids Getting Hurt Media, KGH Media, literally, for a 13-second video that
Jesus.
that they had us take down our hour-long stream Friday night from. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that very much. Apparently, they're famous for this. So we are but one of many, and this is nonsense. It was fair use. We were reacting to it. It was already on a public website, and we then modified it beyond by reacting and to. Hi, Catstro. I hear Fidel out there.
Yep. All right.
Lyrical has weighed in. He says that Paul Robeson also does a great version of Joe Hill, which is no surprise.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Me. No surprise.
I wanted to hear that.
So I actually, Lyrical, I grew up. I went to college for the first couple of years at Rutgers in New Brunswick, which, like, everything in New Brunswick is named Paul Robeson, basically. That is like Paul Robeson headquarters, and I think that actually the gym is called the Robeson Center, like, and so I got my first introduction to him there, and to know that he also did music and another just Renaissance man, genius, who we were robbed of, and who.
Yep.
That's another person I'm fascinated by, historically.
When I was at the CPI conference in Chicago, I got to talk with Garland Nixon for a while, and I didn't know that Paul Robeson had been a mentor to him for a while on the subject of mentors. So, I could have spent another couple hours just listening to him tell Paul Robeson stories. It's just so fascinating. Like, so cool.
So we got Gregory Walker over on the Rockfin who says he's behind his COVID mask is more than a man. It's an idea, and ideas are bulletproof. Whatever that is. He's being funny. Monkey. Yes, the House Un-American Activities Committee testimony from Paul Robeson is definitely something that everybody should listen to.
Yep.
Absolutely, 100%. Yep, definitely, guys. No, not to be confused with the Robitussin Center. Lots of coughing. We've had lots of those. Mastermind Hour, very funny.
Oh, that's funny. All right, this is another traditional labor song that the Utah Phillips version for me. I love to blare this on my forklift at work. It feels especially rebellious considering the lyrics. This is called Where the Fraser River Flows.
Where the Fraser River flows, each fellow worker knows they have bullied and oppressed us, but still our union grows. And we're gonna find a way, boys, shorter hours and higher pay, boys, and we're gonna win the day, boys, where the Fraser River flows. Fellow workers, pay attention to what I'm gonna mention, for it is the clear contention of the workers of the world that we should all be ready, true-hearted, brave and steady, to rally round the standard when the red flag is unfurled. Where the Fraser River flows, each fellow worker knows they have bullied and oppressed us, but still our union grows. And we're gonna find a way, boys, shorter hours and higher pay, boys, and we're gonna win the day, boys, where the Fraser River flows. All these gunny sack contractors have all been dirty actors. They are not our benefactors, each fellow worker knows. So we've got to stick together in fine or dirty weather, and we'll show no white feather where the Fraser River flows. Now the boss the law is fetching bulls and pimps he's catching, and they're a fine collection, as Jesus only knows. But how their mothers reared them, and why the devil spared them, are questions we can't answer where the Fraser River flows. Where the Fraser River flows, each fellow worker knows they have bullied and oppressed us, but still our union grows. And we're gonna find a way, boys, shorter hours and higher pay, boys, and we're gonna win the day, boys, where the Fraser River flows.
Sorry, I went a little Seamus there for a minute.
Jesse did go a little Irish brogue. Just for everyone who hasn't seen what this man looks like, by the way, I figured let me go to this website, which is called thelongmemory.com, and this is a website that looks like it's dedicated in tribute to Utah Phillips, so people could kind of get a feel.
It's run by his son, and there's actually a songbook on there that's every Utah Phillips song, and I have to. That's like I have to own that one day. I can't. It's not a purchase I can justify right now, but man, that's on the list.
Wow, what a gorgeous shot right there! Gorgeous.
I know,
gorgeous.
Just, and the gorgeous. The stories he tells about just our train system, and he says, we had such a great train system in this country, and we let it go like way too easily for fucking cars, and look where it got us, but yeah, there's just this really incredible romanticism of that era, being a musician, traveling city to city, singing labor songs, and it's great too. He talks about a couple of the songs. One of my favorite lines, oh, hang on, chat. Sean Miller, you are absolutely right. If I had to pick one lyricist who I have to bow and do obeisance towards, it's Aesop. It's my hands down my favorite solo artist. So my top three, it's like Utah Phillips, Aesop, and gosh, probably Leon Redbone if I had to go for a third. That's another episode, let me tell you.
Well, what about Dr. Seuss, dude?
Oh, I'm talking for musicians.
Oh, musicians wise. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Also, that Lyrical saying that there was that caboose that I showed. He recorded an album living in that caboose when it was still in Vermont, and then it was then moved to California. Fascinating. Awesome stuff. See, we get all the deep stuff here on American Tradition.
And one really cool, just for me personally, I'm a huge Jack Benny fan. The old Jack Benny radio shows are some of my favorite things ever. And Utah Phillips, when he's talking and telling a story, especially when he cracks some jokes, which his sense of humor is phenomenal, he really hits this kind of Jack Benny tone sometimes that it's super familiar for me and just fit right into the shit I already loved. So this song, this is one of my favorite songs of his, or really ever. When he was at the Joe Hill house, living and working there, they had some people come in once, suffering from hypothermia, who had come in from one of the train cars that they rode in. And they got these guys in, they warmed them up, they get them some food. And he said it wasn't until a little while later that one of them said that there was a guy in the train car who was too bad off to make it down. And Utah said, I was super pissed because, we could have gone right away, but they waited to tell us. And they went to find the guy, and he didn't make it. But he wrote this song for him that's the most beautiful tribute to someone you didn't know, and someone who most people wouldn't look twice at, let alone write a song to memorialize. And there's a couple lines in here that are again just ones that I want like tattooed on my forehead. So this this is one of my favorite songs of his. If I can remember throwing my capo one. Okay. This is called Old Buddy Goodnight.
I was there when they opened the boxcar. Found him stone dead on the floor. Though thumbing and bumming was all of our trade, no one had seen him before. He wore the face of a stranger, lost and unseen in a crowd. He looked so small as we carried him down, wrapped in a newspaper shroud. The wind blows cold in Wyoming, the stars shine clear and bright. If you don't wake up tomorrow at all, I guess it's old buddy goodnight. His hair was the color of winter, all streaked with iron and coal. And all you could see in his soft prairie eyes was the wind and the grass and the snow. And the backs of his hands were like road maps, the lines on his face were the same. And on his left arm a faded tattoo bordered a rose and a name. The wind blows cold in Wyoming, the stars shine clear and bright. If you don't wake up tomorrow at all, I guess it's old buddy goodnight. Now, I don't know where he came from. His train was a UP freight. There's someone waiting for him on the coast. He'll be a little bit late. So give him a line in your paper, and here's what I want you to say. There's some things worse than dying alone. One of them's living that way. The wind blows cold in Wyoming, the stars shine clear and bright. If you don't wake up tomorrow at all, I guess it's old buddy goodnight. I guess it's old buddy goodnight.
Fucking love that song. So give him a line in your paper, and here's what I want you to say. There's some things worse than dying alone, and one of them's living that way. Like, god damn.
Like living it and writing it. Like man. It's one thing to live it, but it's another thing to experience it, and then
that's the thing. Like, if I had just heard that song on its own, I'd be like, that's a good song, really great lyrics. But I got to hear it with the setup of him telling you the whole story. And he literally stops with, we went down to the boxcar and we opened it up and yeah, we found him. And then he starts playing the song and it's just like, fuck it. it's so, I don't know. It's like you get the director's cut of every single one of these with commentary. It's so good.
Well, it's funny because when I go to concerts and all through my teens, 20s, 30s, whenever I would pick up, and I was always a fan of the live album. One of the things that I like about the live album is when they explain stuff about the song to the crowd before they before they do, which gives you a little bit more insight as to why they wrote it, where they were, etc.,
sure.
whatever it is. That always adds so much more meaning to the song, and it makes it more yours because it's almost like you know it, even though you know most people don't.
Absolutely.
Because you at least paid attention and you were there to hear that, you know?
Yep. And then it's cool because then when you don't just share the song with someone, you go, here's what he wrote about. It's about this guy they found in boxer. You know, it's like
right, you tell the story.
There's so much, you know, so that's what's so great when it's a song of his. He tells you, you know, what led it from his life to writing it. When it's a labor song, he tells you about the movement behind it or the strike or, there are so many instances of them just bringing out the National Guard against working people, you know. And he says something really great. It's not the same apple. No cookies, if you're wondering. This is a new apple. I have a actual piece somewhere too. I have like a pipe, but old habits. But there's a pipe as well.
And somebody gave him a pipe of an apple, like an apple-shaped pipe. I seem to recall.
There we go. I'd have to keep
we saw that.
No,
you know what it was? We saw that on boats. Reef put that out on boats. Somebody was smoking out of a glass apple. I was like, yeah, that's
what I need. I need to make a wish list like OnlyFans girls do and have it like, you can get me this Utah Phillips songbook. You can get me this Apple Bowl.
My Amazon
I need new boxers.
And then I can picture it like the site Wish, like, here's what I asked for, here's what I got. And it's just not anything like that at all. Yep.
Oh, it's so true.
That's great. Oh, what is this? Eddie Money? Right. Mastermind is talking about Eddie Money, who started with his set with, "Hello, Steve City, how are those cheese fries?" Really? Is that true? That's awesome. I used to love it. I had a whole Eddie Money kick for a little while. I was about 15.
That's awesome. That's even better.
I was an old little kid, man. I swear.
You're an old soul, man.
I was very old. Like people used to tell me, like when I had this driver at a job I had. I was like 19. It's like, bro, you should have been born in the 60s. Like, yeah, I probably should have, but here I am, man. Like, because I knew all the music and like I was just, that's where my head was, and that's lyrically and musically where I was, and Zeppelin and late 60s, early 70s, and I mean that was when rock like really evolved, and most of the best rock came between 1960 and 1980. I have to say, some was written afterwards that was really great. I agree. The 45 years, 50 years since.
90s too.
Yeah, but just 70s.
Anthony quoting a line here, if you don't mind mold, and I don't. He messaged me the other day and asked what that line was about. And it made me so happy because I thought for sure when I wrote that someone would ask, what did you mean by that in indie pop culture? And nobody ever did. And every time I do that line, I'll do a little wink at the camera. And like someone's kind of asked me about it one day, but no one did. And bless his heart, Anthony hit me up one night and he is like, "Hey, what did you mean by if you don't mind mold? And I don't." And I was like, that's a personal line for Jesse about the apple, because it's not moldy per se, but it gets the little resin ring around the lip after you use it for a while. And when a casual passerby would walk by and be like, "What's wrong with that apple?" they would think it's just gone bad. And so when I got to writing the line, "They're ripe for the picking if you don't mind mold," I grabbed my apple and I went to take a hit, and all of a sudden and I don't.
And I don't. Yeah.
And I was like, that's just for Jesse, but I'm putting it in anyway.
That's awesome.
It made me so happy. That he asked about that. I explained like way too much. I dropped like 5 paragraphs on the poor guy.
Now it makes you want to hollow
here's
out
the
a
fun
tomato.
fact about that.
Makes you want to hollow out a tomato and smoke it.
When I lived in the Keys, my old band used to play this place called the Hurricane, and they had an actual like band room like out behind the kitchen, a little green room. And it was ratty, but it was a place we could all, drink and like smoke joints between and before. And one night we show up and we're like, okay, we got weed. No one have papers? Does no one have it? And I was like, I didn't have an apple for once. I like, I had to throw mine out. Didn't have time to get a new one. We're like, so we don't have anything? So I run into the kitchen of the restaurant. I'm like, hey, do you guys have apples by chance? He's like, no. Oh, do you need something to smoke out of? I go, yeah. He goes, shit, best I got is a key lime, brother. And he hands me this little key lime. I was like, I mean, seriously, it was like maybe this big. I was like, well, desperate times. So I like poured it out and made my thing. Proceeded to singe off a bunch of mustache in the process. But,
nice. Yep. Nose hairs and mustache definitely go out with that.
Yeah.
Yep. If you've got some offensive nose hairs, you're gonna be in trouble.
So let me see. I'm not sure who actually originally wrote this.
Send Jesse Utah BVDs. Phillips. Terrible. Oh goodness. Oh goodness gracious. Fried green tomatoes. You know, Team Orca OnlyFins. We've been having a whole conversation about that because, as most of you know, Indy's growing tomatoes on his deck, and I have a lot of tomatoes. And Ree's been yelling at me, "Fry up some green ones. Fry up some green ones." I'm like, "Yeah, but they're not off the vine yet. They're not ready." She's like, "Yeah, that's when you fry them." I want to let them ripen, but that's another story. Anyway, Utah Phillips.
Okay, there it is. So Utah Phillips has an album, I believe it's called I've Got to Know, that is mostly like anti-war songs for Gulf War era, but that's when it was released. But there's some great pieces of his and some really great anti-war poems from a long time ago that fit perfectly. And this one, especially when he read it, I couldn't help but think of where we're at with censorship right now and the whole, misinformation fever that people have. So this felt like a good one to do. This is originally by Edmund Vance Cook from 1917. This is called Sedition. You cannot salt the eagle's tail, nor limit thought's dominion. You cannot put ideas in jail. You can't deport opinion. If any cause be dross and lies, then drag it to the light. Out in the sunshine, evil dies, but fattens on the night. You cannot make a truth untrue by dint of legal fiction. You can't imprison human view. You can't convict conviction. For though by thumbscrew and by rack, by exile and by prison, truth has been crushed and palled and black, but truth has always risen. You cannot quell a vicious thought, except that thought be free. Gag it, and you'll find it taught on every land and sea. Truth asks no favor for her blade upon the field with error, nor are her converts ever made by threat of force and terror. You cannot salt the eagle's tail, nor limit thought's dominion. You cannot put ideas in jail. You can't deport opinion. Fucking 1917, here we are 100 plus years later, and it's way, way, way too fucking accurate is what it is. Way too timely.
They are deporting opinion. What do you mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Mastermind, you better start sending some our way. 2 of their pot plants started flowering. Nice.
There's a bunch of songs too of Utah Phillips. Some he'll bust out the guitar, and some of them he'll just start singing, and all the more fun to blast on a speaker while I'm riding around with a forklift, because it's just Utah Phillips and whatever of the crowd that knows the song kind of singing with him. But he does some fantastic ones. And again, when you look at some of these songs now and look at, like, for instance, like DSA and what it's supposed to be on paper and what it actually is and how co-opted some of these organizations are, because they've taken out the risky people, they've taken all of us extremists out of the fold. So pieces like this that are, again, 100 years old are just so fitting. So I didn't bother looking up the chords.
Oh, the
Gregor.
company's so good to me. There's no more Reds in the union. I'm as respectable as can be. There's no more Reds in the union. My wages, they're up so high. My family's starving, so am I. But sooner than complain, I die. There's no more Reds in the union. I'm paid the lowest wage on earth. There's no more Reds in the union. I'm paid exactly what I'm worth. There's no more Reds in the union. I think the company is fair. They speed me up, but I don't care. My kids complain, but I don't care. There's no more Reds in the union. Every year we have a swell affair. There's no more Reds in the union. The bosses and their friends are there. There's no more Reds in the union. They give us food, they give us beer, but one thing does seem mighty clear. We eat that good but once a year. There's no more Reds in the union.
Again, fitting for
Little ditties like that.
2023.
The man's
Fitting-
full of them.
Fitting for 2023. Eugene Purier literally held like some kind of a seminar today at the People's Forum in New York City about McCarthyism and about how they're
It's
literally
back.
like it is back and it is making a vengeance for sure. Thank you, Democratic
This
Party.
isn't your dad's McCarthyism.
Well, no, because now there's Nazis involved too.
Yeah,
The
no
Nazis
shit.
are on our side this time. Wait, they were last time too. Oh, right.
Oh, God.
Hmm. All right.
All right. See if we got anything else.
What do we have here? Okay, so everybody's talking about growing their weed plants. I enjoy. I'm growing tomatoes. This is my first time. I grew a dozen plants, and I've got a jungle growing now. I planted them on Memorial Day weekend, and here it is in early August. We're about 10 weeks in now, and some of those main stalks are like 9-10 feet tall, and they're like sideways growing into each other. And we've already started to get some ripe tomatoes off the vine. It's great stuff. But grow your own food if you can. It feels good. It feels good to do it too. You know.
Yeah.
My wife says it feels like we took on a fourth child because I spend so much time out there watering them and moving them and looking at them and caring for them. But I enjoy it. So Utah Phillips, he bummed around the country. He lived in train cars. He lived in flop houses.
Mm-hmm.
He played folk songs. And so he just basically kind of survived, got from place to place playing gigs, I'm guessing. Like,
yeah.
Did he ever really hit it big?
I mean, in his lifetime, he ended up being kind of a mentor to like Annie DeFranco and did some albums with her. And later in his life, as long as he could, toured like, you know, folk festivals and stuff like that. So he got to kind of see, you know, some appreciation for his body of work and his contribution, but still like his number of monthly Spotify listeners is disastrously low. Like the man deserves way more. To me, again, it's very different in its own way, but I think as many people should know Utah Phillips as know like Phil Oakes, and I feel like there's definitely I can do my part to spread the gospel of Utah Phillips, because way more people need to hear like not just what the political message is and how resonant it still is, but the history in some of these songs that only someone kind of traveling around like that got to witness and like log for people. It's just incredible to listen to.
See, to me, it translates well to like what a stand-up comedian these days goes through, you know, especially ones that struggle and that aren't, you know, big name headline acts that go all around the country. They stay in the shittiest places there are. They eat in Waffle Houses, and you know, no shout out to Waffle House. You know, nothing, not knocking the Waffle House, because everybody's got to eat cheap. And God bless them, and thank goodness for them, because we're getting squeezed out everywhere, every place you can imagine. So, yeah, it definitely does hit a chord. Teamwork, OnlyFans. You know, I have solidarity. You know, it's funny. I'm not a quote unquote blue collar worker per se. You know, though I am a worker. I certainly. These songs resonate with me from like childhood, and hearing from the stories from grandparents and Depression era stuff and World War II era stuff. And it's like, this stuff it's timeless. You can tell, you know. Exactly. It makes me think of like Woody Guthrie and a little bit of Willie Nelson, a little bit of Bob Dylan. Kind of has a little bit of mix of all of that.
You know what's great too? There's a moment he casts a little brilliant shade at Bob Dylan, and you know, kind of everything has its place, but he's preparing one of these songs, and he says, you know, in these songs, he goes, they're really simple. He says they had to be. He says a lot of these people, you know, couldn't necessarily read or write. You needed songs that didn't talk down to them. And he says a lot of your modern protest music, he says it's you know, beautiful poetry, but God, what's his wording? He says it's something that's, you know, middle class music for middle class taste, because they got the money to buy it. That it's a little wordier than it needs to be. And he says, all I'm saying is there's a clear difference between how many miles must a white dove soar before it can rest in the sand and dump the bosses off your back, which is the song he's about to play. So because it is, there's, you know, his songs are very direct, and he talks about, you know, immigrant workers that came, and there's something beautiful. He says that people came to this country on, you know, the promise of democracy, and they saw people go to the ballot box and cast a vote and get to feel like they had a say. And he said it didn't take them long to realize that if you use those same tools of democracy in your workplace, that they'd send the National Guard out and mow you down. That you, on that small scale, if you try to bring some democracy in and start organizing, then you realize that you are not allowed. That it's not that simple, and it's so spot on that maybe really that's when you realize what you're kind of kept in your place through a number of methods. And he talks about you know, immigrant workers, and he said, what were they going to do? They had to strike. He said they couldn't vote for all the good it would do them. It again, you know, I think he passed in 2016, I want to say. I might be wrong on that, but unfortunately he's been gone for a while. But I can only imagine what he thought of things, because he unfortunately got to see us just get worse and worse at all that. I can't imagine having spent your whole life talking about these labor strikes and teaching about the importance of these, and watching us backpedal. And especially now in the last couple of years, what we're doing with like child labor, it's staggering. So all the more reason I'm like, shit, these songs really do, like, there's a reason they're public domain, you know. It's because they need to be put to work, I think is the term he used. Those songs need to be put to work. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. So somewhere along the line, I would love to record a little EP of Utah Phillips covers. And I could, at this point, I would love to do one of Tom Lehrer too, because Tom Lehrer put all of his music into the public domain, like murdered his copyright and just published it all and said, you know, do with it what you will. And so yeah, I'd like to do a couple little projects like that, but I can't advise people enough. Utah Phillips, there's a huge collection of, I would say, kind of his normal songs, songwriter kind of material, Americana, called Starlight on the Rails, and then a really great live performance of labor stuff called We Have Fed You All 1,000 Years. And that one has just got some of those gut punchy, it's like Joe Hill and Fraser River. But again, it's amazing that there are songs and poems, 100 years or close to 100 years old that are disturbingly relevant right now, and they shouldn't be. They fucking shouldn't be. It should be a look how far we've come, but it's not. It's really not. That's not what I get listening to some of these. It's like, no, look how much we've backslid.
Not come, right. So I wanted to show one other thing. Bad Cookie said, what are immigrant workers to do? And I want to show this. This guy, Luigi, I've been spotlighting him all week and for a couple of weeks now because he's been the voice of the part-time workers, in my mind, for UPS. So he is a leftist. He's a socialist. He is a photographer and a writer for Left Voice, but he's also a part-time UPS driver. And now he just got hit with an immigration thing where he's got to pay for immigration fees around $1,700. All right. And so, yeah, any contribution counts. Anything you can do at Luigi W. Morris on Twitter. If you can hook him up with a couple of bucks, I mean, I'm gonna throw him some cash on behalf of INN because we've been using his stuff, and we need guys like him out there in the field telling us what's happening, being the voice of the workers out there. Because I'm not in the warehouse, I can't go in there and look at that. He's got a Roger Waters, The Wall, Pink Floyd, The Wall. Tank top on he's wearing, but yeah, he's got to GoFundMe because he's making $16.50 an hour as a part-timer at UPS, soon to get a raise, of course, because of the contract that they signed with the Teamsters. He is a Teamster, but he's still got to spend $1,700 or $1,800 in legal fees to move with his immigration process. So we're gonna do what we can. Oh, look at that! It looks like he's already raised $1,900 out of $2,300 goal. Awesome. So anything anybody can do to help Luigi out, that's huge. And this is what mutual aid, what we're doing to help each other out because nobody else is here. This is like we have to save us. We have to take care of ourselves. This is exactly what we're talking about. So I thank you to anyone that's doing that and that's helping him out. All right, so I know you got one or two more things you want to knock out, at least. Maybe
that was about it.
Well, you recorded a new piece the other day that I put out last week that I put out.
I did.
Booby 24.
Should we do it?
If you want to do that, man, and lay some fire down
why
on
not?
people.
You know what? We should.
I don't think that anybody would be upset by that.
Especially because in maybe the most flip the table, punch a hole in the wall kind of moment, I realized that when I wrote this piece out, I put NABCA instead of NACBA.
Yes.
And when I did it with you and recorded it, that was my first time reading through the whole piece. I wrote it at work. I was driving the forklift. I do paperwork. I come home, do my dad thing. Fox goes to bed. We come down here. I read through it, and we did it the first take. And I'm like, cool, we did it. And then it goes up, and a couple minutes later, Reef's like, hey, love the piece. I hate to have to say this. I'm like, oh no, don't fucking what, man, tell me what. Yeah. The and then he pointed it out. I was like,
everything was perfect.
And what's funny is now it rhymes even better with NAFTA. So it's just a big
right?
win.
NAFTA, NAFTA, yes, absolutely. So
yeah, let's
do it.
Let's do it. This is one of those pieces, man. I feel like I got to the end and looked back at my checklist of kind of things I touched on, points I made about even worrying about who we're voting for. Like, oh no, who's going to be our Democratic candidate? Like we get to have a say in that, or like we get to actually choose the person making decisions. is just it's a cute thought.
We call that the illusion of choice. That's what we like to call that, the illusion of choice.
Every once in a while, I immediately am going from typing something in a Twitter comment to like, no, you know what? Taking this outside, opening up Notes app and moving this conversation over there. And 12 verses later, this happened. This is called Pull String. Her hands are bound behind her candidate, who found the perfect hill on which to lay it down for good, who she might not agree with on apartheid or celebrating war crimes, but talks just like she could. He's got the IDF's back and the CIA's back like a Democrat should. Mr. Anti-Establishment didn't start the fire, but he's slipping on his hood. Her voice is grafted to a candidate who might not always speak for her, but what is she to say? Why bother harping on an issue that Americans won't listen to? It seems like such a waste. But what activism is saying they don't give a shit, but if I don't, why would they? So way to rob yourself of agency, then chain yourself to genocide and look the other way. Love to see a fellow running as a Democrat, taking stacks of money from a GOP super PAC, calling out corruption in the giant fucking country club he's clearly been accepted at, but wants to be the leader of. He knows which way the money runs, knows it paves a leader's path, and human rights for Palestine historically don't lead to that, so he will not address it, as he doesn't see a need for that. And welcome to the attitude our country's politicians have displayed toward Palestinians since back before they cracked the will of Arafat. And so the story goes forever after. We do not speak the P word here or recognize the NABCA. All you'll find are sea lions who volunteered as actors, barking like a manuscript from NAFTA. All you'll find are insulated sycophants intent on justifying why the slaughter done in Palestine is not a voting matter. Well, tell that to Shireen Abu Akleh. Tell that to the children growing up inside a city where the walls are made of shackles. Tell that to a mother who is burying her baby, how her son is not our problem because we'll never see his grave. He's just a topic we can mute or we can scroll right past his face with all the videos of mourners being beaten at his wake. So stuff your poll on what the average voter deems as urgent. They don't get to know the half of what we use as our detergent when we launder all our ISIS cells, our cartels, and insurgents. We do not elect the man behind the curtain. We elect the pull string diversion. We elect the lesser evil donors pre-selected best to do unto the Arabs as we did unto the Persians. And do unto the Muslims as instructed by the merchant who provided you with HIMARS that can vaporize a person back into the dust in which we all will find immersion. One arms dealer's genin is another dealer's curse on, and both are just a mark that Lockheed Martin smells a purse on. And voters are the hollow thralls that Congress put a curse on to vote against their interests every 4 years till they die. And if you show them Palestine cry, better them than I. Though the curse of occupation's taking place within their mind, they will always love their prison long as they are shown the sky. They will sing about their freedoms under Apple's watchful eye. As puppets dance and sing should you so pull their strings and wires. They will rally around the man who bears the torch and bears it high and believe him when he tells them that he's here to stop the fire. We are cursed to love our prison and keep lifting up our liars. We are not behind the wheel. We're being crushed beneath the tires. And our blood is in the oil and the plastic on the wipers. And our blood is on the hands of those who cranked inflation higher. And blood is on a vest where press can barely be deciphered. Put there by a few Israeli snipers who were aiming at the center mass of truth about American desires. You can sell us any story. We're a nation built of buyers, and we love a good parade. It always makes us feel inspired, like who cares what those were Nazis? Gosh, they had the whitest smiles. So I wouldn't bank on sequels to the Nuremberg trials. If they happen now, they would be confidential, Pfizer style. Redacted paragraphs and empty vials. Close to 80 years before they have to share their files. Luckily, your lesser evil logic lets you justify the nations we've defiled. Lesser evil logic lets you cast a vote for someone that you know is truly vile.
Lesser evil logic sees another million bodies thrown upon its hoarder's pile, extending out for miles. So every line I've had to scrap, I've turned back into bile. So don't you touch that dial, lest the feds come swarm your door. Guess it isn't safe to say things like, I don't support the war, or may Palestine know freedom from the Jordan to its shores, or I'd love to see our senators get trampled by the poor. Any pull-string Dem will tell what they're allowed to stand up for, and how little things like Palestine are better off ignored. Call it voter outreach for desperate remoras when the shark from which they get their scrap starts pulling on the floor. And the shark says those who live beneath a brutal occupation should be thankful for their freedoms and their rubble and their gore. And I swear it only makes those bottom feeders love him more. One in particular is beaming for her candidate, who found the perfect hill on which to make his final stand. And she will not be deterred by all those pesky little war crimes, will not be deterred by his support for stolen land. He helps her come to terms with how to spin an occupation. Forgiving the oppressor is the democratic way. She says her voice is grafted to the candidate who speaks for her. And every time you pull her string, she's nothing new to say. And that's pull string. RFK 24.
Bro, you're going to hate it, but you said napka again.
Are you fucking kidding me?
You read it just like you said.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh. You didn't change the typo in the document, did you?
I don't even want to look. I think it's worse if I did, and I still said it.
No, I don't think you did, because the document I'm looking at, it's still typed napka.
No, I didn't change it in yours.
Oh my God, dude. Holy crap. Yeah, I heard that. I was like, no! Do I stop him? Do I let him finish? Ah!
I backspaced it when I was talking to you, and I typed Nabka right back into it.
See, look, it's even correcting you there. Even Google knows that it's fucking Nakba. Oh my God. Oh, that is great. Yes, but lyrical overdub. Yes, we'll have to record you say Nakba.
We'll fix it in post, guys. Yeah.
Oh, we'll do it again. Fuck it, we'll do it again.
We're doing it live.
We're doing it live. Fuck it, people.
Burgundy will read whatever you put on that prompt.
That immediately, it's really funny that you say that because Cynic said something about that you read it just perfectly, even with the typo. And it's, yes, Burgundy will read whatever you put in front of him perfectly. That's right. Holy shit. That's great. Cynic says she could hear
My brain is elsewhere when I'm doing that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know where it goes. It's not an awful place. Is that what you want me to say? But it's not such an awful place. Ala Nabka. Oh my God. Ala Nakba? What? Okay. All right. I think it's time. I think that's telling us it's getting late.
Yep.
Folks. I love you all. This is
Yeah, seriously, thank you guys so much
for
letting me just like fanboy about Utah Phillips for an hour and a half.
I was literally just saying to Reef and Colin tonight, like, I almost don't even want to do the news anymore. Between the show I'm doing with Himbo now, nobody wants to work anymore, talking about jobs and the job market and how screwed up that is, and doing this show and producing for other people and doing graphics and everything else, editing, and like curating news, that's tough. That's time, and this stuff's fun. Like I'm having fun doing all this, so I may have to take a little break from doing some news and keep doing all this stuff, which I love doing. And shout out, thank you to Gregory Walker over on the Rockfin, rockfin.com/INN, everybody. We are on Rockfin, just in case YouTube does decide decide someday to shut us down. We're on Rockfin, we're on rumble.com/c/indie news network. We're over on Twitters, of course, and twitch.com. That's where Lyrical is hanging out tonight, over on Twitch. So definitely
Huge shout out for hanging out. Seriously, thank you so much.
Yeah, please, thank you so much. And yeah, everybody loves your podcast. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, support jessejett.bandcamp.com. Of course, you can get all of Jesse's original music downloaded for free, or you can leave him a few bucks there. We also have a Jesse Jett playlist on the INN, on this YouTube channel for INN, that has a lot of original pieces. The spoken word that I uploaded the other day, with kind of like Utah Phillips, with a little explanation before. The extended versions that I cut are Jesse giving his explainers, and then I actually cut just the song or just the piece, and then an extended version for people to kind of get a little bit more of that, because that is that's a that I feel like, the people, if they don't really watch American Tradition, that kind of gives them an in as to why should they, because they can find out stuff like that rather than just listening to what you can hear on Bandcamp, you can hear on Spotify, everywhere else. You get more Jesse, you get more of what's behind why he wrote what he wrote, and I love doing that stuff. So definitely subscribe, and there's a playlist, like I said, on INN. Spotify, he's got a channel, and they suggest other artists to listen to also. That's pretty cool. And then I also made a playlist on Spotify, by the way. If you look up Jesse Jett songs, it is literally every Jesse Jett song on Spotify is in like one playlist. 8 hours straight of Jesse Jett. If you can't get yourself enough of Jesse, my God, sign up for that. It's a public playlist, so anyone's free to sign up for that. All right. So yes, Sean Miller, thank you. Appreciate that. All the love, much love to everyone. Drop him some super chats. Drop him some green. Everybody, he is a brilliant wordsmith. Love him to death. Appreciate everybody being here.
Thank you.
Yes, we do have Sean, if you're on Rumble, yeah, we're over on Rumble too. We've been streaming over there. We're even on Telegram, t.me/Indie News Network. You can subscribe over there, and a bunch of stuff automates and bots over there. So, all right, I'm kind of wiped for tonight. I'm going to say, like I do, keep questioning everybody's motivations, and I'll let this guy take it out because it's his show. So,
yeah, that's it. Take care of each other. Be safe. Don't do drugs unless you're bored.
Who are these people?
Indie News Network, collaborative family of independent content creators. Co-hosted normally by me, Indie. I'm founder and editor of Indie Left News and Indie Media Today. I got Reef Breland sitting next to me.
At Kennedy News.
Is Andrew Rivera on The Handsome Cynic?
It's Politics and Survival.
My name is Jesse Jett.
It's American Tradition.
What's up, Space Monkeys? Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm Robert Durden.
I mostly make art for INN.
BigMadCrab, Joe. Keep up those great videos.
Hey guys, it's Yeti. Coming at you.
Hello, my name is Lucy from Blue Moon Red Wine.
This is Chris Legion.
Keep fighting that good fight out there, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Who are these people?